Have you ever tried to solve a riddle, a really old one, like 450 years old? Well, that's exactly what we're going to do today. We are diving headfirst into a super cryptic, four-line prophecy from the man himself, Nostradamus. We're talking lions, duels, golden cages, the whole shebang. Let's see if we can crack this thing together.
And here it is. This is the puzzle in all its 16th century French glory. This is the Quatrain. That's just the fancy word for a four-line poem that people have been arguing about for centuries. Just take a look at it. It's definitely dramatic, right? But the real question is, what on earth is it actually trying to say?
All right, so before we can even think about unpacking all the symbols and weird metaphors, we've got to get on the same page, with the language. So step one in cracking this code, let's get a good, solid translation of this thing.
Okay, here we go. Here it is in English. Wow, suddenly the picture gets a lot clearer and way more intense, right? We've got this big, dramatic fight, a pretty gruesome injury, and a super chilling ending. This translation, this is basically our roadmap. This is what we're going to use to figure this all out.
All right, let's get into the nitty-gritty. We're going to break this down line by line. And first up, let's figure out who the main characters are in this story. These two lions.
So, right away, let's get one thing straight. We're probably not talking about actual, literal lions here. In the world of prophecy, you see this all the time. Animals are almost always symbols. So the young lion? That's got to be a rising star, right? A new leader, someone challenging the old guard. And the old one? Well, that's the established power, the king of the hill. It's that classic story, the young upstart versus the seasoned veteran.
Now, this next part is a really key detail. The prophecy says a singular duel. This is huge. It means we're not looking for some massive war with giant armies clashing. Nope, this is personal. It's a one-on-one showdown. And just that one little phrase, it seriously narrows down the possibilities of what this could all be about.
Okay, so let's move on to the second half of this thing. And just a heads up, this is where it gets, well, pretty dark and gruesome. We're leaving the battlefield behind and stepping into a scene of some pretty grim confinement.
And this brings us to what might be the most fascinating image in the whole prophecy, the golden cage. It says the loser gets his eyes pierced inside this thing. But what is it? Are we talking about a literal cage made of gold? Or is it something else entirely?
This is just a perfect example of how poetic and metaphorical these prophecies can get, That golden cage, it's almost certainly not a real physical cage. Think about it. It's a symbol for a place that is both super luxurious and at the same time a prison. What does that sound like? A royal palace, maybe? A place of incredible wealth and luxury, but for a king who's just been defeated, it's nothing more than a gilded trap.
And right when you think you're starting to get a handle on this, Nostradamus throws a curveball. The very last line completely shifts the focus. It's not about the two leaders anymore. Suddenly, it's about two classes. This tells us that whatever happened in that duel, it had huge, far-reaching consequences that affected whole chunks of society.
So let's unpack that. This last line is like a little two-act tragedy. Act 1, two opposing groups, maybe it's nobles and commoners, or two rival political parties. They come together, they form this really shaky alliance after the duel. But then comes Act 2. That new unity, it doesn't last. The prophecy ends with a super grim prediction that their whole alliance just falls apart, and they all meet a cruel, shared end.
Okay, so we've taken apart every single piece of this puzzle. We've looked at the symbols, the words, the structure, everything. Now it's time to put it all back together. What is the full story that this prophecy is actually trying to tell us? So when you lay it all out, here's the story we get. A young, ambitious ruler takes on an older, established one in a direct, one-on-one fight and wins. The loser is then captured and suffers a really terrible fate. He's maimed or killed in some sort of luxurious prison, like a palace. This creates a huge power vacuum, right? And that leads to two opposing groups forming this temporary, super unstable alliance. But that alliance is doomed. It completely falls apart and they all end up destroyed. I mean, that's a whole complex, dark political drama packed into just 4 little lines. It's incredible. And all of this brings us to the really big question, doesn't it? For hundreds of years, people have tried to pin this prophecy down to a specific event. The most famous one is the jousting death of King Henry II of France. But what if that's not the point? What if the real power of a Nostradamus prophecy isn't about predicting one specific future event? What if it's about capturing these timeless patterns of human nature, of conflict, of ambition, of power? So is it a crystal ball showing us what's to come? Or is it more like a mirror, just reflecting our own history back at us over and over again?
Now that is something to think about.